Today on the First Time Storytelling broadcast, my guest is Aubrey Wallace. Aubrey is a U.S. expat living in the Netherlands and the co-founder of Dandelion Branding. She is also a certified clinical herbalist and with a deep understanding of herbs, nature, and several healing module. I knew that word was going to get me. Modalities.
Yep.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Yep.
You got it.
All right. Aubrey is here to share the story of her first time going through a quarter life crisis. And I was telling her that I can actually relate to that and how it brought her to spend a summer in the woods and how that redefined her self identity. Welcome to the First Time Storytelling broadcast, Aubrey.
Thank you. And it's really awesome to be here. This is a really cool concept.
All right. Well, I can't wait to get into this with you. Like I said, I have shifted. I feel like I've lived multiple lifetimes because I've shifted things so many times. And I think the younger that you realize, this is not completely how I want my life to be, the better. So
Yeah.
So why wait for a midlife crisis? Like have
Totally.
every quarter,
Yeah, for sure.
you should be going through some kind of crisis. But so let's talk about what brought you to that moment. Like what was happening in your life that you just wanted to put the full stop and you realized like, whoa, this isn't right.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I mean, what was actually going on was I think 19 when I was 18, I started college when I was 17 actually. And then I was a criminal justice major. And I do have a degree in criminal justice. And so after like a year and a half of going through this program uh, at Michigan State University, which is a really good school, I had a group of friends I was hanging out with all the time, and I was like going to protests and just being a college student. I was drinking a lot. There were drugs around, and I'm this criminal justice major, and I'm surrounded by kind of this like hippie world, and I started being like, I'm a criminal by like textbook standard. I fit into this thing. And then I started being like, shit, everyone around me fits into this category of criminality, but these people are awesome. Like what? Whoa.
So let me ask real quick, what made you choose criminal justice as your major? Because it definitely seems like obviously there started being an alignment fusion. So I'm just wondering like what initially even made you decide like criminal justice is what I want. Is that what you wanted to do when you were a kid? Or
no, I actually started as an art history major. But like I said, I was learning a lot about the world. I'm from a town that has about 3,000 people in it. And then I went to this university being like, I'm going to be an art person. And then I was like, there's a lot of problems happening. How can I solve those problems? What can I do to join it? And so I was raised by a cop. My dad's a cop, or was a cop for many years. And my mom was a psychologist. So I was in Flint. This is in Flint, Michigan. So I was sort of raised in the environment of like working people that worked in the government, and I thought I could do some things to like make a change. I could be a part of that, and
so you shifted. Okay, so you shifted
yeah.
from arts to criminal major. That's a big shift, and now that's what you're studying, and you're realizing, I have criminal behavior
Yeah, like
tendencies.
what does it mean to be a criminal? What does it mean, like for a lot of the stuff that I do in my day-to-day life, I could totally go to jail for this. And um I'm not a bad person, and none of the people that I hung out with are bad people, but I'm doing all of this learning around like criminals are bad and we have to stop them and we have to, and I just, yeah, it kind of pissed me off, and it made me question at kind of everything. It kind and yeah, that's kind of, I mean, on the one hand, that's why I went into criminal justice, is to sort of answer that question. And the answer that I received was essentially like anyone that breaks the law. And that just kind of put me in a tailspin, because then it's like, what's broken? The law, the system, me, people. Like, I just kind of went a little nuts. So, and I just needed some time to think. I've done this a couple of times since too, where I just thought, I just need time to think. So I quit my jobs and I took some college classes. I took some like online classes, enough so that I could get uh, funding for the summer. And then I just moved to the woods, and I would, like, once a week I would go into a little town where I could do some homework.
So
And
which,
like,
like, where in the woods, like, and all by yourself?
yeah, so my family has like 20 acres of land in the northern part of Michigan. That's just that there's a fire pit there, and it's kind of
Oh, so
like,
you're camping. You're like,
yeah, I just took my tent and I
oh
just
wow.
was like, I was like, I need to think. So I'm just gonna go be in the woods for a while and just go camping, and I just lived there for like 3 months. Sometimes I would go back if I needed to like pay rent or take an exam. I would like drive back down to Lansing. And sometimes I had a lover that was like in the northern part of the state, so I would like go see him, and then I would just go back to my little tent and like be there by myself and
That's
think
awesome.
about it. Yeah.
How old were you? So you said
Probably 19. Yeah.
okay. Also, it's not, you're not even at the quarter life. You're not even in your 20s yet. So it's very,
Yeah,
very
no.
early on. So what took place that summer?
I just kind of, yeah, I don't know, because I'm so much that person now. And it was, what I learned is that it is really good time. It's really good to just make, like, stop everything and take time to think and align yourself with who you are. I did finish my degree. Um, so, you know, I still went and finished my degree. So I do have a degree in criminal justice, but I added a second degree to that to learn interdisciplinary social sciences, so that I could understand more about how at-risk youth, that was my main focus, was at-risk youth. How do people get into the system? How does that start? Then and I also learned a lot about like oppression, and then I got really involved in that would have been 2012, which was when Trayvon Martin was killed, and that was when Black Lives Matter started. So that's all very relevant, and kind of just followed that path. But I think, had I not spent 3 months just sitting in the forest and ruminating and thinking, and then like, taking like little trips to society and being like, this is my new thought, okay, bye, let me test this out, this little bit of me out, okay, bye, and like going back, then I probably, there's a really good chance that I would just be a part of the system right now. I would just be, you know like, part of the thin blue line, or my goal was FBI, and sitting with plants, and like being in the woods and camping and spending all that time like just meditating under trees. There's like pictures of me just sitting under trees, and I did it for hours just meditating.
So want to acknowledge a few things about you. And, one of the things being that, at a very young age, you realize you have to peel the layers. Like it's not whatever you're being told, whatever you're being exposed to, there are other layers. There's something behind it. There's more to it. And you embrace, going in and exploring that. But the only way you have that true realization of the layers is when you go deep into yourself and you realize that there's layers, there's conflict, there's, being raised by a cop, being raised by a mom, who, is a psychologist. There's different exposures that you had that create certain beliefs that led you a certain way. And the only way you can fully understand those is you got to pull on them. And the only way you do that is you have to be by yourself. Like you have to
Hmm.
take the time to do that. So,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people who do that. And it is a very beautiful thing to do because
Yeah.
then, but I- because then you can find yourself in any environment, and instead of the environment changing you, then you have the power to change the environment. So I think
Yeah.
like because of who you are and who you're intentionally continues to develop who you are, you could have found yourself in any place. If you were in the FBI, to be like, okay, they're not going to change me.
Yeah.
Can I create change with where I am? Which is more tasking. I mean, it's definitely,
Yeah.
because you're constantly bring all the information in and you don't do anything with that information until you have clarified it for yourself. And I love how you
Totally.
explain that because I do the exact same thing, right? So I go through this deep thinking process and I'll go back out and I will throw like, okay, this stream of consciousness, I came up with this realization.
Yeah.
Then you throw it out and then you converse about it with people and you're like, it is landing or it's not landing the way that I would think. And
Yeah.
what did they add to it that now I have to go back and I have to
Yeah.
process. So it's incredible because the younger you do that, the more advanced you become as a human being, and then
Yeah.
your impact in society. So, but let's talk about because it's not because obviously you're a very social person. You enjoy being around people. So when you chose to put yourself in that space of just being with your thoughts, and a lot of people avoid that at all costs. Like, was it easy? Was it difficult at first? What was the distraction? Or like how were you handling it?
That's a really good question. I don't there's kind of two sides to it. One of them is that I don't like to unravel myself in front of other people. So I'm okay with being vulnerable. I'm okay with sharing things that I've already worked through because like that's my past and I worked through it. But that whole summer was me unraveling like what have I learned? What have I been indoctrinated with? And what about that serves me or doesn't serve me? And you get to pick and choose, those things. And I'm lucky that I was young that happened when I was 19 years old. But the other thing is that I'm deeply, deeply introverted. So I actually have no problem being alone. I do love being social. I like hanging out with people, but I really get energy by, being alone with my thoughts. So it wasn't difficult. I think it was more difficult for my friends because up until I learned that summer how introverted I truly am because up until that point, I was spending lots of time with my friends that we were like never leave your door locked because your homie might be sitting on your couch with a blunt when you get home, like I mean that was our regular life. So when we when I was like, guys, I think I'm just going to go spend the summer in my tent and I'm not inviting you, they were kind of like, whoa, this is a new version of you that we haven't seen before. um so yeah, I would say that probably other people would find it a lot more challenging, especially if you identify as an extrovert. But once you get comfortable with it, once you know, like, because you can always leave. I wasn't like putting myself into like a silence cult or whatever. I just, whenever I wanted to see anybody or whatever, I would just go see them.
Yeah.
So
It becomes a lot noisier. I spent a summer across in Canada where I was camping, hiking, so much time in the mountains. And when I went back into, because along the way I was visiting some cities too, and I would get back and it was like, oh, it's so noisy. Like it was
yeah,
just,
yeah.
you get reused to it really quickly, but initially you're just like,
What does that sound?
yeah,
Yeah.
your level of sensitivity, especially going into Starbucks and when they make frappuccinos that day.
Oh,
Like, oh
wow.
my God, that is so loud. Like, I have to get out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so now, because you mentioned obviously and that's again, it's a lot of self-awareness to still finish the degree, go deeper and add to it. You're like, okay, I need more knowledge, I need more information. And
Mm-hmm.
then like what happened? Because you're completely not doing anything that has anything to do with that
No,
now.
no. I still hold true. Like it seems like I don't use that degree, but I actually really do, because I'm a marketer and my job is to understand people and why they do the things that they do, and understanding criminals and people that um every criminal has a reason for the actions that they take, and when they don't, they have a mental illness. So understanding that, understanding the id and why people make the choices that they do from the very base level, regardless of whether or not there's a criminal element there, it actually helps me with my job every single day. So it's a different way of looking at it, and I came to marketing through a different way, but it is the same. And but essentially, what happened was I was working with kids with autism. I went from working with at-risk youth, and I decided the next summer after that summer that I was going to shave my head and drive to California. So that's why I said this is only the first time I've had a quarter life crisis. Um, so, and when I got to California, I realized, okay, I want to live here. But my criminal justice network, my interdisciplinary teams network is all in Michigan. So I decided to kind of rebuild that when I moved to California. But I got a job. It's very expensive to live in California. And I got a job working with kids with autism. And at the same time, I was working for a company, and the CEO of that company decided he wanted to create a secondary business and he wanted me to head it up. And that was ravishly.com. If you just Google ravishly.com, it'll come up. That's a feminist website. So all of my background in the activism and the protesting and all the stuff I had been doing channeled straight into like writing and running an online business. And simultaneously, I was working with kids with autism, and I love that work. But unfortunately, you can't get close to someone.
Yeah.
So I learned really quickly that if I'm going to be spending 5 days a week in someone's house and eating dinner with them at their dinner table, I want to be able to share myself also, pieces of me and what I've learned and my journey. And you just can't do that in the system that we have, our government system. It's not legal to share that way. So I quit and I learned how to be an herbalist so that when I do take herbal clients, I can heal them in the way that is best for them.
Uh,
Yeah.
I you know, so I love that. I love your journey, and I know that there's going to be other many twists and turns as you continue. There's no doubt in my mind about that, because you're on the path of learning, of growing, of taking one experience, what's good about it, bringing it to another experience, and then elevating who you are and your understanding of that. And that's what, like with the 365 first challenge, or what I do, like clearly what you're doing is what I want to bring to everyone, to have that awakening and that realization of just because you started, like, it's never wasted what you learn, what you're
No.
exposed to. It's about grabbing what's good about it and then go ahead and seed it somewhere else. And you don't
Mhm.
have to stay to water it and to see it grow.
Nope.
You can seed it, plant it, and then go somewhere else and find yourself, in a new situation. And it continues to be beautiful, and like you're weaving through life with life and all that it has to offer. So that's it, that's what I wish for everyone. So
Oh,
I
thank
love
you.
that we I love that we've connected and that you're sharing this. So let me ask you then, how do you think, the process is for turning that on in people?
Oh, that's a really good question. Um, for me, it honestly started with asking a question I couldn't answer, asking a question about myself that I couldn't answer, I guess. And before that, that question came from being angry at something I was seeing. And now is a really good time for asking yourself questions like this because there's a lot to be angry about and there's a lot that's like showing up for people. And there's a lot of people that are really triggered right now. And I would say, ask yourself why you're so triggered and do the hard work because this shit's hard. Like, it's not, it's, I had to spend 3 months when I was 19 by myself to like decide on a next role. And I've done that now 2 or 3 times, not quite for that long, but I'm almost 30 and I guess it's been exactly 10, actually it's been exactly 10 years because that was the summer of 2009. No, that was the summer of 2010.
Yeah.
And now it's the summer of 2020. So it's been exactly 10 years and I've taken 3 or 4 um,
Other timeouts.
additional
Yeah. Other
long
moment.
timeouts. Timeouts is a really good way to put it. It's a lot nicer than quarter life crises. Except for now, I think it's like third life crises. I don't know. Um, yeah, now is a really good time to ask yourself those questions and take a timeout and take a step back and ask yourself, why am I so triggered by this? Because that's all it is
Yeah.
why am I, what in my past is bringing this up? Or and just follow yourself down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think the key to it is, don't be reactionary to what is
Yeah.
triggering you until you understand what the triggers
Yeah.
are, because once you figure it out, your reaction might actually be, first off, it's going to be being proactive and taking action versus having reactions. And
Hmm.
that might be look completely different than what your initial,
Yeah.
jerk reaction might have been.
Totally. I think that when we're triggered, our reactions are, you know, always negative. For me, my reaction is like volatile and angry, and when I'm triggered like that, I get like really outward. But like my business partner Courtney, she'll go really inward. So we have to watch those things, and then we have to recognize each other's triggers and say, why are you triggered right now, and try to do that work together. When you
Yeah.
start doing work with other people, it's actually, I think it's a little bit more powerful.
Well, that was
So
going to be my next question. So, like, who has been present in your life to help you through these things? Like, obviously, it sounds like that summer, it was you. Like, you were in this on your own. But
mhm.
have there been times and the other timeouts and the other process where there are people that you've reached out to that assisted you, that helped you, and that make a very big difference in expediting the process of going through things?
Yes and no. I think for me, when I take a time out, I take it alone. I've done trips across the states. I've done backpacking in Scotland, and those are and backpacking in Northern California. Those are the times that I like align with myself and align with the energies around me. And I think that that's really what it comes down to. Um, Always with my dog. Big note. Um, we talked about our dogs earlier. It's cute. Um, but there are a few people that I always low down with. My boyfriend, who I live in the Netherlands with, Tom, always. We we don't always see eye to eye, but we always understand each other's growth, and I think that that's a really important piece. And we work together on pieces of growth. Um, and I think next month we're going to go backpacking together in Finland, and that trip is going to be a lot about this kind of time out. It's the first time we've done a deep time out together in that way. Um, and then my business partner, Courtney. Yeah,
All right.
and she's wonderful. And I do have one other friend, Nico, who has been incredibly helpful. But yeah.
No, that's really great. You have those people in your lives, and it's very important to, because the deep recesses of our minds can get a little loopy.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not, it's like I'm sliking through, and I'm not breaking out. Sometimes you need somebody that can help you break out and just be in that space of
Hmm.
listening. And then oftentimes it's just speaking the words that just like, oh, now I got it. So they didn't really
Yeah.
need to do anything. You just had to verbalize whatever
Yeah.
you're thinking.
Yeah. Being able to talk through it, you know, I just went on this journey, and this is all the things that I had on my mind. And a lot of times I think then you realize what you've thought through all the way and what you haven't also. So you can be gone, I'll be gone for a week or whatever, and then I'll come back and be like, these are all of the thoughts that I had that feel profound to me. And I'll be explaining one and realize, oh, I actually don't know how to verbalize that yet. So I will think about it,
Yeah, pulling it
again
back in.
sometime.
It has to be
Hmm.
further processing is
Yeah.
necessary for this thought can be set
Yeah.
free.
Yeah. I also like walk by myself almost every day for an hour or so. So that has been very helpful for like staving off these like regular crises.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, but I do, so for me, I, so the need to do that is also because I'm exposing myself to a lot of information, right?
Yeah,
So
you
it's
do.
it's knowledge, it's experience, and it's everything. So there's an exposure to it, and then there's an understanding of it. So that's one. A lot of people, so when I talk about the 365 first challenge and trying new things for the sake of trying things, some people are like, well, doesn't that become too much? And I'm like, no, because it creates an experience which it creates a knowledge, whether it's a knowledge about me, a knowledge about the experience, or like information knowledge. And then it comes in, and then the more of that I have, then the more like I can connect dots and I can work through it.
Hmm.
If I'm not feeding in that information, then it's like, well, there's nothing going on, and
Right. It's
I have
stagnant.
nothing. I have nothing to process, and which means I'm not growing, I'm not learning.
Right.
I'm not having new realization about life or who I am, or what's important. So how do you continue that exposure of information?
Uh, that's another really good question. I read a lot. So right now I usually have a fiction book, a nonfiction book, and a nonfiction audiobook. Right now I also have a fiction audiobook. So I'm reading the Witcher series, and I'm reading Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, which is a great, great strategy book. Um, I'm listening to Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, and the fiction audiobook is The Dark Tower by Stephen King, which is this is my I read it, and then my partner also wanted us to experience it together. So a lot of reading. I also like I shamelessly watch Netflix. I write I'm a writer, so I need really consistent inspiration. And I find that like good Netflix TV is just a download of someone else's creativity, and that's really nice. Also social media, deep conversations with friends, stuff like this. Um, I'm kind of always, it seems like we're kind of similar in this way where it's like there's always something coming in.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
And for me, and I would encourage you to try this. Trying things that you've never done before has an
hmm
incredible ability to make you realize so many things. And for me, because I've been on this journey for 7 years, and it's just blown me away, like on how it's elevated, like to the next level of, huh,
hmm
I did not know this about myself. And I didn't know how,
hmm
like, I didn't know how making things was going to be so rewarding, and like returning to game playing, like remembering, like, I was such a sore loser as a kid and still working through. And I love playing games because it's, you know, one, I have to understand how I'm playing it, but I have to observe how everybody else is playing it. So I have to get into
hmm
their heads and their psychology of how they're doing that. But, and like you said, that's what life is about. That's what marketing is about. And so it's constantly having exploration of discovering what is so similar, yet what makes it different. And having that fascination and that curiosity. And
hmm
um, so, well,
Yeah.
it's exciting to find a kindred spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. There's not a lot of people, you're right, there's not a lot of people out there that will just be like, haven't done that. Well, yeah, let's go. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just for the sake of the experience.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, I think I could talk to you for hours,
Yeah, I
but
think so. Yeah, I want to know like what like as somebody that I'm like down to learn from experience, I'd love to hear your number one thing that you would suggest that I should just go do like tomorrow.
it would have to be something you've never considered doing. Like, so there are the things that you've never done because you never got around to it, and then there's the
Yeah.
things you've never even considered doing. And like, I'm realizing there's like, in that space, there's so much. And for me, it was very related to, so I'm a very outdoorsy person, sports and all of that. And it sounds like
hmm
you have that very, you said, you mentioned you met your boyfriend at Burning Man. So clearly like music is there. So like, what's on the flip side? So for me, it was like crafts that you, or never would have considered like doing crafts, or certain other things. I spent 24 years in the Marine Corps, so it's a very manly environment. So there's certain things where I was always like, no, I will know how to do it, like a guy's not going to do it for me. But then there
hmm
were still other areas where like I hadn't quite crossed over into that. And a lot of it went back to making things with my hands, and
hmm
creating. So writing, I've been writing since I was a kid. It's always been very important to me. And so that's a form of creation. Well, how can I create in a completely different way? And then I realized creating with my hands is very fascinating. I took
hmm
a torch blowing class where you make things out of glass. I don't know if you've ever done that, but that was
Yeah,
both.
that is something I would love to do.
Yeah.
I'm definitely really creative with my hands. We're actually
So
about to buy a house and probably do a huge house renovation project with it.
so you'll have all kinds of
So
new firsts,
all sorts of
and
new things.
yeah, and that's going to fuel your soul so much. Yeah, and it is just different things that I never place importance on, that I'm like, why did I not think this was important? Let me explore it. Is it important? Is it not important? What's in it?
Mhm.
So I don't know what that is for you, but I would go into those spaces and those areas,
Okay, I'll think
and
about it.
see, yeah, and see
Give me
what comes
something good
up.
to think about. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
let's play the first time lightning round, and perhaps there's some things in that.
Yeah.
Now that I know you more, I would change them. But let's.
Okay.
Okay, so the way it works for everyone who's listening and watching, the first time lightning round is similar to the app. So it's a swiping game. So I'm gonna give Marie a couple first time options, and if it's something she's done before, so if it's something you've done before, it's up. So you would swipe up. If
Do
something
I like put my
you
hand?
you can physically do it, or just verbally.
Okay. Okay.
It's up to you.
Okay.
And if it's something you've never done, not interested, it's left. And if something you have never done, would like to do, then we go right. Okay, first one, eat Cajun food.
Up.
Yeah, I've done that before. Have you made your way to New Orleans?
No. And
No.
I want to go so bad.
You would love New Orleans. I lived there for 5 years, and it's still that city. And I say, like, the voodoo that she do. I mean, that there's something about that city that for me set me off like in a new direction. So
Yeah.
okay, play craps.
Right.
Right. Tie a tie.
Up.
Up. When did you learn to tie a tie?
I don't know how to tie a tie, but I've definitely done it with a YouTube video for just like I think my ex-boyfriend's college graduation, something like that. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Go to an R&B concert.
Up.
Up. Roast marshmallows on a campfire.
Up.
Yeah, I had to
Billions
figure
of,
that.
yeah.
Go mudding, like not 4x4 mudding, but like in
Like
a
mud.
mud, like you step into mud, like a mud bath.
Oh, yeah, up.
Up.
I've
Oh,
done I've done all the mudding.
all the
Yeah.
mudding.
All up for all the mudding. Yeah.
What was the like stepping into mud bath like?
Like a mud bath at a spa. I haven't done that, but I want to. Yeah, that's a
Okay.
right for that. I've done
Okay.
it outside in a mud puddle.
Well, what was that like? Well, it was
It's
just like
great.
it was raining and you're like, I'm going in. I'm
Yeah. I'm from Michigan. I don't know. We like mud. I'm an herbalist. I've done a lot of weird stuff outside with earth.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Go sea kayaking.
Uh, I think right. Yeah.
Right. Adding that. Okay.
A little
Right.
scary.
Yeah. I mean, if you if you go, so my first time sea kayaking was in Croatia. I was actually in Dubrovnik, but then I did it again when I went to Belize, and I do pretty much everything by myself. So I'm out in the ocean by
Yeah.
myself, and I saw a fin in the corner of my eye, and like I stopped, and I was like. And then it came back up, and then I realized it was a dolphin, and I was like, "Oh, thank God!" And then I was just in awe. I mean, it was just incredible to
I'm
be
sure.
like this close with a dolphin. But yeah, until I realized it was a dolphin, my heart was definitely beating a little faster than usual.
I
Okay.
bet. I bet. See, I'm gonna write sea kayaking on there because I think that's one of those things I want to do.
All
That I have.
right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Buy travel insurance.
Up.
Uh, very smart woman when she travels. Volunteer at a woman's shelter.
Right.
Right. Adding that to the list. All right. Well, that completes the first time lightning round.
Awesome.
So
It's fun.
I like there's a mixture. You've definitely done a lot, but we were able to add something to your list. All
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right.
The
So
women's shelter and sea kayaking.
yeah. So the next question is something that is on your list of first time in your experience, something that you've been wanting to try out.
That I want to try out.
Yeah. What's something?
I I I'm I've done a lot of like backpacking, and so I had a back injury when I was 20, and it took me a long time to be able to do things again, like walk regularly, or balance, yoga. I've only been able to ride a bike for like a couple of years back. So backpacking was really difficult for me to like jump into. So I've been wanting to do it, and now I've done a couple of like shorter backpacking trips, but I really want to go on a longer backpacking trip. Ideally, we're going to go to Finland in a month, but I think that's going to be short. I'd like to go for like maybe 3 weeks or something, and I'd really like to go to the Amazon.
Oh, very nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that. Hmm,
that's a
excellent.
goal. Yeah, it was going to be a goal for next year, but it might be with the Corona world. That might be everything's kind of pushed a year.
Yeah, pushing it to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Still keeping it on the radar.
Hmm.
A little further down the road. You might be interested. So there's a episode I had Derek, his last name's escaping me, but so New Yorker, grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and had never hiked a day in his life. And he went and did the AT. So it was first time hiking, first time camping, first time being out in
Wow.
the wilderness, and he went the whole way and did the full AT. So
Okay.
fascinating guy, and I'm in the process of reading his book, learning more about what that journey was like for him. So
What is the book called?
uh, the unlikely hiker.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you love to read, so yeah, we definitely
Yeah,
add
yeah. I'm
that
book
to,
recommendations.
to your list. Okay, so
Yeah.
final question is how have you been making the best out of the current situation with the COVID?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. It's so I was in the United States back in Michigan visiting my parents in March, and my flights kept getting canceled, and I had to kind of like scream cry my way onto a plane to get back here. It's great. So I think so that was a weird challenge for me to realize like, holy shit, I am a continent away from my family, and this is real. And choosing to be in the Netherlands during this time was a really big step and realization for me that I still
Yeah,
kind of need to like sit with by myself in the woods. Um, but I think I've just because I have only lived here for a year and a half, I don't have a huge community here. So not being able to like see people doesn't super affect me because there's not a lot of people for me to see. But
yeah,
in terms of business, we work with a lot of our clients are herbalists or acupuncturists or people that physically work with clients that have had to shut down
mm,
or stop. So that has been challenging for our clients. And in times that are challenging for clients, business world is also challenging for us. So, that's okay. We shifted gears and decided to build a course. So we actually like, it's a little bit of a blessing for being like, pause, we're gonna focus a lot of time on building this course. So
all right,
just kind of shifted there. Yeah.
that's awesome. I mean, it's having the mindset of adapt, pivot, change, overcome, and
Hmm.
sit in the space where this is happening and what's best for it right now. And,
Yeah. Yeah. We have to
it's,
just keep kind of going. You can't just like, well, the world stop. So, that's not healthy for anyone.
yeah. And it's got to be very interesting for you too to have so much coming back up from, like you were saying in 2012 when you were active in the Black Life Matters movement and the start
Hmm.
of it, and then seeing it kind of go, 8 years later
Yeah.
to finally having the impact that, you know, quite
That we're
frankly,
seeing right
it
now.
should have had back in 2012, but,
Totally.
you
I still
know,
have my sign. I have my sign. It sits in my office. Um, and it shines out the window. So if you come to my house, you know which house is mine. um,
yeah,
it's weird. It's exciting, and I there's not a lot happening here for Black Lives Matter, unfortunately, because the movement does need to be in the Netherlands as well. But yeah, I'm getting out there when I can here.
yeah, yeah. And it's just a reminder how things do come around, but they do take time, and to not, you know, not
Yeah.
give up on something that was started, and it's going to get, it's going to get its day, especially, well, particularly when it's so dang important and has been ignored for so long.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. All
It's
right.
wild to like watch. Sometimes I just look at the news and I think, damn, my country's on fire and I'm not there. Um, but I'm definitely there in spirit, and I definitely am sending love to all my people, and and watching and supporting and listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And speaking out. So I appreciate you
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's I love, again, there's such great energy when you do meet someone that's speaking the same language or on the same journey, albeit, again, it leads us in different directions, but it's the
Mhm.
same greater, like, internal growth
Mhm.
experience that we're on, and appreciation of life, and being able to share that with others and encourage them to go inwards, go.
Yeah.
you know uh, Especially right now, you cannot go out, go in, because there is
Totally.
an insane journey that awaits for you going in, that runs deeper than, quite frankly, anything you could do outwards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Truth. Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you, Anne.
thank you. Enjoy the rest of your week, and please, do stay in touch. Keep me posted on how things continue to develop for you.
Thank you.